بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, we begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity for us to continue in our lesson in the Adab, Sulukil, Mureed and Muqaddimah Hadramiyah. And we pray that Allah bless all of us with forgiveness and answering of our prayers. And may Allah make this lesson a reason where Allah protect us from all difficulties, trials and tribulations in dunya and akhirah. May Allah bless us with husnul khatimah and guide us with Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yawm al-qiyamah, ameen, ya rabbal alameen. So inshallah, we will enter into our first book, that is the Adab in Sulukil Mureed, and Al-Imam Abdullah bin al-Haddad is speaking about the importance of having a spiritual teacher. In Arabic, we call it the Sheikh al-Tariqah. He mentioned some of the prerequisites and some of the conditions, and likewise the etiquettes of a seeker to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to the relationship with the spiritual guide. Here Imam al-Haddad is emphasizing about the importance of having a spiritual guide. That normally a person will need one, especially with the challenges that a person goes through in his life, that individually it will be tough for people to attain spiritual stations and accept by the guidance of those who have been blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with such stations. We pray to Allah that Allah bless us with tawfiq and hidayah, and may Allah bless us with the company of the pious and the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that we attain success in dunya and akhirah. And may Allah gather us in Yawm al-Qiyamah with them. Ameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen. So we have come to the part where it is mentioned here in this translation, the perfect or Kamil teacher. He mentioned, you must indeed know that the perfect Shaykh is one who benefits the seeker through his activities, dealings and sayings. Now this is the reality of Tarbiyah is not only about words, but it is about situations. So there is a saying in the Arabic language, lisanul hal afsahu min lisanil maqal, that the actions and the situations of a person is what you call it, imparts knowledge, imparts spirituality, and likewise it gives any benefit to those who surround him. That is why we find, for example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and many of the Arabs during his time, they were influenced by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam just by being with him, just by looking at him, just by observing his akhlaq and observing his characteristics. So this is the parable of a light, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless in the hearts of the pious, that they are able to benefit even by keeping quiet, And lisanul hal, the tongue of the situation, is what is mentioned, is better than the tongue of a speech. That is gives a bigger impact than words. So the perfect teacher then he guides not only through words but also through actions and his situations. So this is where Imam al-Haddad mentioned, know that the perfect teacher or Shaykh is one who benefits the seeker through his activities, dealings and sayings. And he basically is saying that through every aspect of his actions and saying, and that he observes and protects the seeker whether present or absent. If the seeker is physically far from his shaykh, no matter where, then he must seek from him guidelines as to what he should do and what he should refrain from doing. And this is part of the adab. Adab of a student or seeker to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his relationship to his teacher is to ask for permission. Whenever he wants to do any particular thing or go out to a particular place, there is always this thing that we call al-mushawara. This mushawara, or this what you call it, discussion between the teacher and the student, so that in order for us to get the barakah of mushawara, especially if a person who is close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The most harmful thing he mentioned that can happen to the seeker is to change in the sheikh's feelings towards him. If this happens, then even if the sheikh of the east and the west unite to improve him, they will never succeed until his own sheikh becomes pleased with him again. So this is the importance Imam al-Haddad is emphasizing on what you call it, having any good intentions towards the teacher, and observing the perfect adab towards the teacher. Then there will be barakah. Otherwise, without any adab, a person can be refrain from attaining spiritual blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You should know that that is imperative for the seeker who is in search of a sheikh, who should not blindly surrender himself completely to anyone to be a sheikh. So here, as what we mentioned before this, that there are prerequisites and conditions, and not everybody that fulfills this position of spiritual sheikh, as what he mentioned. So Imam al-Haddad is speaking about a particular station in tarbiyah, that the person is blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with such knowledge. Then obedience towards this person is crucial. Then obedience towards this person is crucial, because he is a person who is close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person who is from the inheritors of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spiritually. Then it is crucial to observe etiquettes, adab. Even our ulama mentioned there are adabs towards the ulama, there are adabs towards the awliya. And in order for us to attain the blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, always we have to observe adab, especially to the pious, especially to the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By showing good etiquettes, we will attain pleasure from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he mentioned that a person should not blindly surrender, because to blindly surrender also it is dangerous, and at times there are people who claim themselves as those who have reached such high stations in tasawwuf, but in reality they have not and are not qualified at a certain level. So here Imam al-Haddad saying he should be cautious completely to anyone said to be a sheikh that can guide on the path to Allah, until he knows that the sheikh is worthy of this description. How do we know that a particular person is worthy? Of course, by the sayings of the ulama during his time, the sayings of the awliya. Usually the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the ulama and the awliya, they will know each other. They will know each other. And if a particular person who is well known for his piety, well known for his wilaya, well known for his knowledge, he mentioned, for example, that Fulan bin Fulan is such a person who is a saint of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has this speciality, and so on and so forth. That is one of the prerequisites that we can ascertain that this particular person, mashallah, he has reached close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there will be people in every age that will know each other, that will know each other. That if a person is a liar, and certainly the scholars of the time, or the saints of the time, they will know of such a person. So always it is important to check and balance when it comes to spirituality, so that we do not fall into the trap of making any mistakes, or having false perception on people. So this is a warning from Imam al-Haddad, not to blindly surrender himself, because surrender oneself can be dangerous, and if a person is misguided, then the one who follows will also be misguided. Then he mentioned until he knows that the sheikh is worthy of this description, and until he can accept the sheikh with his whole heart. Important to have any sincerity, important to have any trust. If we do not have trust to someone, that is going to be difficult. Then it is going to be difficult. So normally we are comfortable to follow those who are close to us, and those who are within our comfort in terms of following, in terms of our interests. Similarly, he mentioned it is imperative for a sheikh, when a seeker comes to him, ask him to lead to the path to Allah, he should not be permitted to enter it until his sincerity has been tested. And last time this is the case. Not everyone can follow a particular tariqah, Shaykh tariqah, of course, and he will look at the seeker, this particular person. Is he prepared or not prepared? If a person comes and he is a beginner, for example, the teacher might tell him to seek knowledge first, for example, or to attain certain things, to certain understandings, then slowly enter into the path of tasawwuf, and then only that person will be taken into a particular spiritual path, for example. So last time especially the mashayikh, the shuyukh or the sheikh of tariqah, they are very careful in this. They do not take anyone until they have ascertained that this particular person is sincere, that this particular person has the will, has the determination, and this particular person is seeking knowledge and is serious about Islam. Then they will take this person into their tarbiyah. So this is why he mentioned he should not be permitted to enter until his sincerity has been tested, and the extent to which he thirsts for someone to guide him to his Lord. Of course, here it is the etiquette when it comes to the teacher. Part of the etiquette of the teacher is to look into the situation of the seeker. This shows that the person possess wisdom and knowledge, that is able to see who are the persons that he is able to guide to the fullest. All these preconditions relate to the sheikh, who one would give a complete control of all decision, that is sheikh tahkim. It is imperative that the seeker remains with him, like the body of a dead man in the hands of the one washing it for burial, or like a baby in the mother's care. So again, this is a particular person who has reached the highest spiritual stations, who is known for his karama and his miracles and his faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we have such a person, the advice of Imam al-Haddad is to follow his words and to follow his advice, and to be in front of him as a person who is obedient. He gave the parable of a dead man in the hands of the one washing it for burial. And this is the parable of the level of obedience that a person must put in order to attain the full benefit. In order to attain the full benefit in this endeavor of spirituality. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may Allah bless us with tawfiq. And then he goes on to speak about some other conditions and some other types of shuyukh. He mentioned here there is sheikh tahkim, as earlier he mentioned. He is going to speak about sheikh tabarruk, where we get blessings, barakah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by being with him and benefiting from his conversation and from his teachings. For example, all these things inshallah will continue in our next lesson inshallah. So there are a few things here inshallah we will speak about a few types of shuyukh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with istiqamah inshallah. So now we will enter into our next